Today is 1076 day that I'm sharing the lessons I learned. I'm learning how to support your dreams, your goals, allow you to become the person that you want to become. Today I speak about over-explaining. Such an interesting topic. I think that's because I do daily lessons every single day. I think that I did that so many times. I over-explain the small things, detail things, and I think that we understand it. Sometimes we over-explain because we do not understand it well enough. Because there's a saying that if you're not able to explain to a 5-year-old, maybe you do not understand it well enough. And of course, that makes sense because a lot of times when I share something, I share through lens of learning, getting better, improvement, understanding. So it means I do not understand fully myself. This is a journey to a better tomorrow. So that means there's a lot of things that I understand. I share my knowledge, I share my understanding. And sometimes I share because I'm trying to understand myself. I'm trying to learn new things. I'm trying to learn how to explain, express myself that I could put into my own head, in my own understanding. But today I will share like what are the reasons that people over explain? What are those main reasons? I will share like 10, 11 things. What are those reasons that people over explain and over deliver when they not supposed to do that? Number one is cognitive load or working memory. So that means that a lot of times when we really learn something new, and there's so many things, so many thoughts, so many details that coming in that one complex thing that you learn. That means it might be that our own memory, our own thinking is still processing and trying to understand the lesson, understand the knowledge. And when we try to explain it, we over explain because our memory is still thinking, our memory is still processing. And because we still processing, we say things and we over explain things because we try to make sense by ourselves. Because as we said, like if you're not able to explain to 5-year-old, that means that you don't understand it well enough. And that's totally fine. That's totally fine. Sometimes if you explain it for the first time to someone that you learn, and that's why it's always important is that when you learn something, share it. When you learn it, share it, because when you share that, you're able to really put that information into the right places that you can understand. Okay, now fine, I understand. Because a lot of times, until you share for the first time and you go through that working memory, we're going through that cognitive load, it's very, very hard to really put that information as action knowledge. Sometimes we learned, we think we don't know, but we finally try to explain, we over explain because we never had a chance to properly explain that. Number two is theory of mind, or empathy at the same time. So what it stands for is that a lot of times when people over explain, sometimes we judge other person's knowledge in the wrong way. So what I mean by that is that a lot of times when we meet, maybe let's say that example, or elderly person, and we explain some technology-based information, it might be we prejudge that that person doesn't know what to do about with that technology. So that means we will over-explain how to do everything step by step, even though that person might know almost everything. They just needed the one small nugget that they could finish all things, or they knew everything, but just one small nugget was missing. But because you prejudged, they have no idea what you explained. So that means you over-explain all the details. That means being able to understand, okay, where are they coming from, how much information do they need, and having that empathy and put yourself in other person's shoes is essential to not over-explain. And I know as every single time, sometimes we need to ask it, how much do you know right now? So not jumping right away to really explain, but just how much do you know and how much action do you need? Because when you jump explaining immediately without understanding their knowledge, sometimes that leads to over explaining. And of course, that's a waste of time. Number three is self monitoring or social anxiety. I think that it's very, very common that when people have social anxiety and when they go and meet new people, we have a tendency to over explain because we want to be accepted. And that's a lot of times we think that we will be seen smarter when we share more. We will share something that lands better. Because if we share a few things and they don't like it, of course, maybe they will reject you or me, whatever. But when you explain and share and share and share, you expect that something will land. And I think that that's, again, social anxious people are over explaining all the time. So again, then be able to ask, why do you over explain when you maybe in a social gathering? Maybe that's because you have social anxiety, and being able to really say, okay, I'm anxious, but how I could really work on that, how I could be less anxious, how I could really reflect, how I could be more mindful, how I could be more present, as I could share the things that is needed, not just over explain. Number four is perceived power dynamics or authority. And there's two ways. It might be that a person who feels very strong, a leader, it might be that say, okay, nobody knows as much as I know, and I will explain in detail because they do not understand what I'm talking about. So I will share that they could understand how much I know. But at the same time, we can look into other side, like people who feel inferior to authority. They could really try to explain a lot of in detail because they want to really be seen smart in front of superior or authority. So both sides could over explain for because they want to seem better. They want to be seen stronger, smarter, more knowledgeable. And it's very interesting because we sometimes over explain because we want to seem more knowledgeable. But again, as I shared, that if you do not explain in short, like in a very short, simple way, that means that you don't understand as much. And then that means that over explaining leads to losing authority. Number five is imposter syndrome. So that means that it might be that we feel like frauds, that maybe we feel that maybe we do not understand enough. So being wanting to explain and over explain and share and share and share and share, sometimes it's just really pleases our ego, but of course that is not helpful. Again, understanding, okay, why do you share? Why do you over explain? And it might be that we have that imposter feeling, and when we want to over explain because we just please our ego. We please our ego because it's our ego feels protected by over explaining. Because it's our ego feels much more smart when we share and share and share. Number six is attachment styles and communication patterns. So what it is that it might be that we have trauma. It could be a lot of times when a child grew up in a family that was criticized, maybe not listened to. So it means that a lot of times a person with a trauma will want to over explain. They want to be heard. They want to be listened to. Because even if a person never heard, never heard, that means that he will want to speak and speak and speak, just at least to really seek that validation, seek that approval, seek that someone that could approve their knowledge. And then it could be trauma and attachment styles based on that. Again, this is again every single person has a different reason why they over explain, and knowing that is very, very important. And trauma could be one of the things that anxious attachment style that anxiously want you to over explain because otherwise they will not be approved, not be seen. Number seven is overcompensation for lack of confidence. That means that a lot of times we are very, very shy, or we do not have confidence in ourselves, and that leads to over explanation, because we want to really be seen confident. We want to be seen confident, and how we think that we will be seen confident will be a lot of times speak and speak and speak, because a lot of times shy people don't speak at all. They are quiet. So that means that when we will speak and will share our thoughts, sometimes will potentially we feel that we will be seen more confident. But that's not true, because the true confidence comes from certainty. And you're able to, from the essence, know that this person only said a couple words, maybe one sentence, maybe one paragraph, but you know that they have confidence because they know that they believe what they said. Because a lot of times people, you can hear that they say a lot of things, but you can tell that they're still uncertain about what they're saying. And of course, you don't believe them. But some people just say few things, but you can tell that they have massive belief in what they're saying, and you believe what they said, even though there's only a few things. And that's why the confidence is important. We're not supposed to over explain to be seen confident, even though that is not true, because confidence is seen in a tonality, in an essence, not in how much you say. Number 8 is need for control or perfectionism. That means that a lot of times people just want to be in control. So it means they want to be speaking. They don't want to allow other people to say. Don't want to really leave any mark for a no. So it means that when we look into a person who is very, very perfectionist, that means that if they always explain every single detail, that means micromanagers. They will explain every small detail. They'll always explain everything because they don't trust that a person that they explaining, they will be able to really make it right. And they are perfectionist leaders, probably managers. Leaders are not perfectionists. Um, but now again, so that means the person will explain every single detail because they want to make that exactly that way. And sometimes that managers are supposed to do by themselves because they don't believe that someone else could do as well as they do. And then again, be able to ask ourselves, do we over explain because we are perfectionists and we don't want to really um, not other way, just the one way and only one way? Number 9 is fear of ambiguity or open-endedness. And this is again those people who seek closure. So closure seeking behavior. So that means that a lot of times we don't want to really hear, we want to hear yes or no, and that's it. We don't want to listen yes but, because a lot of times when we ask a question and we want to have that yes or no answer, but when people start sharing the story behind it, so that means that before I share yes or no, I will share the story, and they over explain all the things, and then again, this is people just want to have a closure and explanation, the story behind the yes and no's, even though sometimes people just need yes or no. They don't need all the behind the story, but some people just feel that they need that story um, just to make sure that the other person understands where the yes coming from. Number 10, learning and trauma related communication. That means that a lot of times we can look into number 10 is learning and trauma related communication. That means if a person was misunderstood, maybe they shared something and no one understood them, they could really have a trauma and they will now always feel that they need to over explain because otherwise no one understands them. And that's total legit fear. Again, how many times does it happen? Like a lot of times people really work very hard to learn and learn and learn. And after that they learn so much that they have ability to overshare, over explain, even though other people don't need that. And that leads that they don't want to feel the same as they did in the past. They don't want to feel misunderstood. They don't want to feel ignored or dismissed because they just don't know the knowledge. Because I have heard it. I have heard a lot of times people really read books because they want to develop their knowledge because in the past they felt dismissed. They felt excluded of the conversation because it was not able to add anything in that conversation. Number 11, and the last one that I want to share is information processing styles. Some people really want to process their minds and really think it through before they're able to share. Some people just want to share and share and share. And again, that is quite similar to the first one because sometimes it's just when you learn, when you want to process it, sometimes it's good to share to other people, and some that's how other people just process information, and they just over explain, and then finally after they over explain one time, next time they over explain less and less and less, and finally they become amazing communicators in that one niche because it might be that you explain something very, very well. But something other things that you didn't developed yet, you over explain. And again, this is just how often do you share those topics, how much you have the knowledge and depth in those areas. And of course, that means that we're able to understand it, we're able to develop, and we're able to really reduce over explaining all the time and share as much as I need. And I hope that you reflect as well, like how often do you over explain? How often do you share more than you're supposed to need? And maybe you undershare, because I used to be majority of my life undershare, just few things and that's it. Because I used to believe that you have the most knowledge and this only the few key things that is necessary. And sometimes like people needed to have really work very hard to understand all the dots, how the key aspects that they shared really works in all the whole holistic picture. And I think that now I need to really was working last couple of years to learn how to develop my communication skills, how to share more. And I still now need to learn how to share the biggest, most important nuggets at the same time in a most concise way. And I think that's the key to success in not over explain is understanding what is the key aspects and how to share those key aspects in the most concise way in a confident way. Because we need to understand that confidence in sharing is very, very key as well. Because when you don't have the confidence, that's where over explaining a lot of times come from as well. So I hope you choose to win and see you tomorrow.